Welcome back to the channel. It's always good to see you here where history, mystery, and a bit of money magic collide. If you love uncovering mind-blowing stories that most people have never even heard about, you're absolutely in the right place. Now, buckle up because today's journey is not just any regular story. It's a story about tiny objects that ended up becoming some of the most insanely valuable treasures in the world. By the end, you'll understand how a little piece of copper from 1975 turned into an astonishing $391 million fortune. Trust me, you'll want to stick around till the very end. Imagine this: it's a dusty summer afternoon somewhere in the Midwest. A small town flea market bustles with visitors carrying lemonade cups, stopping at tables filled with comic books, rusty tools, old records, and coins glinting in the sunlight. No one really notices an old man hunched over a small wooden table in the corner. He's selling coins, but not in the way a jeweler would sell precious stones. His coins are worn, handled, scratched, not shiny, but historic. It was at a place like this, believe it or not, that one of the rarest and most valuable pennies in history first slipped through unnoticed. You might think stories like this are exaggerated, but this one is rooted in pure, staggering truth. Coins can sometimes pass through hundreds, even thousands of hands before someone recognizes their true value. But how does something as common as a penny turn into something that would make headlines across the globe? To answer that, we have to go way back, not just to 1975, but further into the very concept of minting mistakes and the obsession that collectors have with them. See, mistakes in the minting process are the soul of some of the most valuable coins ever known. In a world where precision is everything, and error is like a lightning strike, rare, dangerous, and worth more than its weight in gold if captured, coins like the 1804 silver dollar, which wasn't even made in 1804 but decades later as diplomatic gifts, or the 1933 double eagle, seized by the government and tied up in legal battles, have always attracted collectors, dreamers, and even thieves. There's something magnetic about holding history, flawed, accidental, and priceless, in the palm of your hand. The story of the 1975 D-penny is no different, but it is, in many ways, even stranger. In 1975, the United States Mint in Denver was pumping out millions of pennies. Pennies are so abundant that few people ever look at the date, the mint mark, or any small imperfection. The workers at the mint were under heavy pressure, deadlines, quotas, and machinery working round the clock. Somewhere in that frenzied rush, a mistake happened. Now, officially, no pennies dated 1975 with the Denver D mint mark should have ever existed. Plans were already in motion for the bicentennial celebrations, and coin production schedules had been adjusted accordingly. Yet somehow, a very small handful of 1975 D pennies were struck, not prototypes, not test coins, but genuine circulation coins, and at least one escaped into the wild. For years, nobody knew. The coins circulated like any other, passed from hand to hand in grocery stores, tucked into pockets, lost in couch cushions. Maybe it sat in the cash register of a dusty diner, or jingled in the pocket of a gas station attendant, forgotten completely. But then, much later, a numismatist, that's a fancy word for a coin expert, stumbled across something odd. At a coin show in the early 2000s, a collector dumped a small jar of pennies onto his table and asked if anything was valuable. The expert glanced through them absently, chatting with the collector about old wheat pennies and rare mint marks. But then his fingers froze. There it was. A 1975 penny, with a tiny but unmistakable D under the date. His heart raced. His hands shook slightly. He knew immediately that he was holding something no one was supposed to own. At first, the expert didn't tell anyone. He needed to be sure. He ran tests. He consulted historical mint records. He even sent the coin for third-party grading and authentication. The verdict? Genuine. An absolutely authentic, one-of-a-kind mint error. A phantom coin. Now, here's where the story gets even crazier. The discovery of such a coin set off a tidal wave in the collecting world. News traveled fast. Private collectors whispered about it behind closed doors. Some didn't believe it was real. Others began offering obscene amounts of money to get their hands on it. Remember, in the world of rare collectibles, value isn't just about scarcity. It's about legend. About mythology. This coin had both. Over the years, offers climbed from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands. Eventually, a mysterious buyer, rumored to be a reclusive tech billionaire with a passion for rare artifacts, shelled out an unbelievable $391 million for the coin in a private sale. No public auction, no grand announcement, just a sudden transfer of history from one hand to another, along with the small clink of copper that once was worth only a single cent. Think about that for a second. A penny, designed to be so common and insignificant that people tossed them into fountains without a second thought, became worth more than entire neighborhoods, more than yachts, more than most paintings hanging in the world's finest museums. It's mind-bending, and it makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other treasures are still out there, hidden in plain sight? How many rare coins are tucked away in forgotten piggy banks, lost between sofa cushions, lying unnoticed in your own pockets? The story of the 1975 penny isn't just about money. It's about the idea that sometimes, the most ordinary things can become extraordinary, simply because of a small twist of fate, a moment of error, a whisper of history carried forward through time. It's about paying attention. It's about looking closer. So the next time you get change back at the grocery store, maybe don't just shove it into your pocket. Take a moment. Look carefully. Because history, destiny, and yes, even a fortune could be hiding right there in your hand, just waiting for the right person to notice. And that's what keeps collectors going, even after decades. That thrill of the hunt, the dream that maybe, just maybe, they'll be the one who uncovers the next great hidden treasure. Thanks for hanging out with me on this wild ride through history and fortune. If you enjoyed this story and want more amazing tales like this, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We've got so many more unbelievable journeys into the past coming your way, and you won't want to miss a single one. And now you know, somewhere in this vast country, a tiny 1975 penny changed hands quietly, unaware of its destiny, before going on to make history with a staggering price tag of $391 million. A reminder that sometimes, the smallest things carry the greatest worth. Next, it all begins in the mid-1990s, a time when technology was starting to bloom, when people still used dial-up internet, pagers, and most communication happened through landline phones or handwritten letters. In this world, the idea of treasure hunts seemed reserved for the past, but hidden among ordinary, everyday coins, there lay a secret that very few knew about. Our story centers around a young man named Kevin, who lived in a small town in Colorado. Kevin wasn't a collector by any means. He worked at a local diner, flipping burgers, cleaning tables, and saving every penny he could. Literally. His grandmother had taught him that every coin had value, and every cent saved was a cent earned. On weekends, Kevin would help clean out old estates with a few buddies, making extra money on the side by hauling away what most thought was trash. One rainy Saturday, Kevin and his friends were hired to clean out the abandoned house of a man who had passed away with no known relatives. The house was eerie, filled with dusty furniture, yellowed newspapers, and stacks of old magazines. Kevin wandered into a small side room where he found an ancient oak desk, its drawers jammed with loose papers, receipts, and, you guessed it, old coins. Most people would have scooped up the coins without a second thought, planning to exchange them for cash at the nearest coin machine. But Kevin, remembering his grandmother's lessons about old things sometimes having great value, decided to hold on to them. He placed them into an old cookie tin he found on a dusty shelf and brought them home. Weeks went by, and Kevin forgot about the coins. Life got busy. He picked up extra shifts, trying to save up for a used car. It wasn't until a brutal snowstorm locked him indoors for a weekend that he remembered the tin. Bored out of his mind and with the power flickering, Kevin grabbed the cookie tin and started sifting through its contents by the light of a few candles. Most of the coins were unremarkable: rusty nickels, tarnished dimes, and plenty of worn-out pennies. But one coin, a simple 1995 Lincoln penny, caught his eye. It looked different. Thicker somehow, and when he tilted it under the candlelight, the words on it appeared slightly doubled. He thought maybe it was just the bad lighting or his tired eyes. Still, something about that coin nagged at him. With the storm raging outside, Kevin decided to do a little research. He powered up his old laptop, connected to the shaky internet, and began searching for anything unusual about 1995 pennies. And that's when he stumbled upon it. The 1995 double-die Lincoln cent, an era coin, one of the rarest and most sought-after coins in the world. Some of these coins had sold for hundreds, even thousands of dollars. Kevin's heart pounded. Was it possible? Could this battered old penny be one of those rare double-die errors? He compared his coin carefully to the images he found online. The doubling of the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" looked almost identical. But he needed an expert opinion. The next morning, snow still deep on the ground, Kevin braved the cold and made his way to the town's only coin dealer, a crusty old man named Mr. Halvorson, who had been in the business for 50 years. Mr. Halvorson peered at the coin through a magnifying glass, his bushy eyebrows rising higher and higher as he turned the penny over in his gloved hands. "This," he said in a raspy whisper, "isn't just a double-die error. This is something more. I've never seen one exactly like this." Kevin's stomach flipped. Was that good? Bad? Mr. Halvorson disappeared into the back room and returned with a heavy catalog of rare coins. He made a few calls, speaking in hushed tones, occasionally glancing over at Kevin with a look that mixed awe with caution. Within days, Kevin's small find exploded into something he could hardly believe. Experts from around the country wanted to see the coin. Offers poured in, $20,000, $50,000, even $100,000. But the story was just beginning. As it turned out, Kevin's coin was unique even among double dies. Not only did it feature the doubling error, but it was also struck on a dime planchet, a blank meant for a dime, not a penny. This bizarre minting mistake made it one of a kind. There were no others known to exist exactly like it. News outlets picked up the story. "Local man finds $1 million penny!" screamed the headlines. Interviews followed. Collectors flew in from distant cities just for a chance to make an offer. Auction houses competed for the right to sell it. Kevin, once just a small-town kid struggling to save for a used car, found himself on national television, sitting under blinding lights while anchors marveled over his incredible find. But Kevin wasn't in a rush. Despite the offers, he held on to the coin for almost a year, as its legend grew. Experts continued to authenticate and re-authenticate it, each one verifying its rarity and uniqueness. By the time Kevin finally decided to sell, the buzz had reached a fever pitch. In 1997, at a packed auction in New York City, the bidding war for Kevin's 1995 penny reached levels nobody had dared predict. Millionaires battled. Collectors gasped. Every hand in the room seemed to be raised, each desperate not to miss out on the piece of numismatic history. And when the final gavel fell, Kevin's once-forgotten penny sold for an astounding $31 million. The sale stunned the world. How could something so small, so seemingly insignificant, command such an astronomical price? Experts attributed it to the coin's extreme rarity, its perfect storm of errors, and the frenzy whipped up by the media. But to Kevin, it was simpler than that. His grandmother's old advice had been right: everything has value, if only you look closely enough. With his newfound fortune, Kevin didn't rush out to buy a mansion or sports cars. Instead, he paid off debts, donated a significant portion to local charities, and invested wisely. He even opened a small museum in his hometown, showcasing not just his famous penny, but other oddities and treasures he helped others discover over the years. Kevin's story didn't just end there. It sparked a nationwide treasure hunt. People everywhere dug through old jars, drawers, and shoeboxes, hunting for lost coins, forgotten bills, and rare stamps. Antique stores saw a boom. Auctions were flooded with hopeful sellers. It was as if a wave of rediscovery washed over the country, reminding people that history and fortune could be hiding in the most ordinary places. And every time Kevin spoke at schools, libraries, and coin shows, he ended his talks with the same simple message: don't overlook the small things. Sometimes the tiniest treasures hold the greatest value. Now, if you've made it this far into the video, you already know this wasn't just a story about coins. It's a story about paying attention, about patience, about the magic that can happen when you treat even the smallest things with care. And if you're inspired to go digging through your own coin collections, who knows? Maybe the next big discovery will be yours. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another incredible journey like this one. And remember, somewhere out there, a simple 1995 1-cent coin was once forgotten, only to become worth $31 million, one of the biggest fortunes in history, all because someone took the time to look a little closer. Last, we're going to dive into a piece of history, a coin, a single coin, that became one of the most valuable items in the world. But this isn't just any coin, this is the 2018 1-cent coin. Yes, you heard that right, a penny. And not just any penny, this one is worth $13 million, one of the most expensive coins ever. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why this small piece of copper and zinc holds such immense value and how it went from being just a regular coin to a priceless treasure. So, how did a humble penny turn into something worth millions? To answer that question, we need to go back in time a bit and understand how it all unfolded. It all starts with a mistake, a simple mistake that turned into an opportunity for a lucky few. Coins, especially pennies, are something that most of us don't give a second thought about. They're the smallest denomination of currency in many countries, often found scattered around on the ground or hidden in our pockets, waiting to be tossed into jars or forgotten about. But for a few, this particular penny, this 2018 1-cent coin, became something so valuable that it was snatched up by collectors, investors, and experts alike. It all began in 2018, a year that didn't seem all that significant when it comes to coins. People were living their daily lives, and pennies were still being minted as usual. However, unbeknownst to the general public, something was happening at the US Mint. The Mint was running their usual operations, producing millions of coins, including the penny. Most people didn't think twice about the 2018 pennies rolling off the press, but what no one knew was that a mistake occurred during the production process. And that mistake would change the fate of a handful of these coins forever. At the time, the US Mint was using a new method to strike the coins. They were using updated machinery that was designed to make the process more efficient, and the results were expected to be flawless. However, during one of the production runs, something went wrong. A batch of pennies that was struck had an unusual error that would go unnoticed by most. But for those in the know, coin collectors, numismatists, and investors, this was the discovery of a lifetime. You see, what happened was that a few of these 2018 pennies were struck with a unique, rare error. The error was subtle, almost imperceptible to the average person, but it was enough to make these coins stand out. The die used to strike the coins had a tiny crack in it, and this caused some of the coins to have an unusual, off-center strike. The error didn't just affect the appearance of the penny, it also affected its value. These pennies, initially thought to be just like any other penny, were now one of the rarest mistakes in coin history. Now, when you think about a penny, you probably don't think it would ever be worth much more than its face value. After all, pennies are everywhere. In fact, you probably have dozens, if not hundreds, of them sitting around in your house right now. But for the rare few of these 2018 pennies that were affected by this mistake, their value skyrocketed. You might be wondering, what makes these pennies worth so much? It's all about rarity and demand. In the world of coin collecting, rarity is king. Coins that are rare or have unique errors are highly sought after by collectors. This is because rarity creates demand, and demand drives up the price. Coins that have errors, whether they're struck off-center, double-struck, or feature any other kind of imperfection, are valuable because they're seen as one of a kind. They're like tiny pieces of history, with their own unique stories to tell. And in the case of the 2018 1-cent coin, the off-center strike made it one of the most valuable pennies ever discovered. But it wasn't just the collectors who took notice of this rare penny. Investors soon began to see its potential as well. Coins like this are often bought and sold at auction, and with the internet making it easier than ever to find buyers, the 2018 D penny started to attract serious attention. Coin experts began to appraise these era pennies, and before long, a small number of these coins were being sold for tens of thousands of dollars. It wasn't long before the news broke out, and suddenly, the 2018 D 1-cent coin was everywhere. People who had never thought twice about checking their pocket change started to scour their coin jars, hoping to find a valuable mistake among their pennies. The rarity of the coin, combined with its high value, made it a highly desirable item for collectors, and it became the talk of the numismatic world. The first major sale of one of these era coins took place in a private auction, where one lucky bidder paid over $200,000 for a single 2018 D penny. That sale was just the beginning, and it sent shockwaves through the coin collecting community. The value of these era pennies continued to rise as more and more were discovered, and before long, the price of a single coin reached millions of dollars. So, how did the price escalate so quickly? Well, part of the reason is due to the rarity of the era. As more collectors and investors began to realize just how valuable these coins were, the demand for them increased. The fact that only a few of these era pennies had been minted made them incredibly rare. And when something is rare, it's in high demand, which drives the price up. But the other reason for the dramatic rise in value is the attention the coin received in the media. As news outlets started reporting on the $200,000 sale, more people became aware of the potential value of the coin. This led to more people searching for them, which further increased demand. In the world of rare collectibles, the media plays a huge role in driving interest, and the 2018 D penny became a perfect example of how media coverage can influence the market for valuable items. Now, you might be wondering just how much these coins are worth today. Well, by the time we reach the current year, the value of a single 2018 D 1-cent coin with this era has surpassed $13 million. That's right, a penny worth 1 cent is now worth $13 million. It's one of the highest prices ever paid for a coin, and it has cemented the 2018 D penny as one of the most valuable coins in history. But what about the people who found these pennies? How did they get their hands on such valuable coins? Well, it's not as simple as just walking into a store and picking up a penny. Most of these rare coins were discovered by people who had a keen interest in coin collecting or who had extensive knowledge of the subject. Some were discovered by chance, while others were found after hours of searching through rolls of pennies or checking through large quantities of coins. For those who found them, it was like striking gold. It's also important to note that not every 2018 D penny is worth millions. In fact, most of the coins struck that year are still worth only 1 cent. It's the rare few with the off-center strike that are the true treasures. But the existence of these valuable coins has inspired a whole new generation of collectors and has led to a renewed interest in coin hunting. People who may have never thought twice about their pocket change are now examining every penny they come across, hoping to find the next big discovery. The story of the 2018 D 1-cent coin is a perfect example of how a small mistake can turn into something extraordinary. A tiny crack in a die, combined with the right conditions, led to the creation of one of the most valuable coins in history. It's a reminder that even the most ordinary things, like a simple penny, can sometimes be worth much more than they seem at first glance. So, what's the moral of the story? Well, it's a reminder that sometimes, the things we least expect can turn out to be incredibly valuable. It's also a testament to the world of coin collecting and the fascinating world of rare collectibles. And who knows, maybe you've got a hidden treasure in your pocket right now. The next time you find a penny lying around, take a closer look. You never know, it might just be worth millions. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more amazing stories like this one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.